edited.
Right.
All right, here we go. Fighters University, episode 2. Class is still in session. Yeah.
We're back.
Yeah. Back at it again. Got your professors here. Got Eddie Too Smooth. Friend of carpenters everywhere. And then, me, Pocholo, aka Pancreation Philosopher. And if you haven't, so if you didn't see episode 1, well, what are you doing? It's only episode 2. It's easy to catch up. But mainly we talked about mainly committing to being a fighter, and then just realizing like if you have do you have the mental the mental capacity to put yourself in something that's gonna be long term, I would say. So like in summary, just making sure that there's no short path to this. Wouldn't you say so, Eddie? Yeah.
Yes, I agree. The main thing that we talked about was just trying to be consistent, trying to be in the gym, find a great gym, good sparring partners, just a good team overall to help you get to the next step.
Yeah, exactly. That's the cliff notes there. You can check it out. Fighters University episode 1. Clearly you're listening or watching this right now, so you can have access to it.
If you're a target, feel free to join.
Yeah. All right. Gonna keep this going. So we actually have a viewer question here. I don't know if they want me to say their name. I just won't say their name. But yeah, they asked, would there be a time when you would cut back on the hard sparring? I think they probably were concerned when you talked about getting cut, like getting black eyes,
right.
stuff like that.
Okay.
Let's see. I'll go for that first. I'd say of course, like in terms of hard sparring, there's because there's a point of diminishing returns, but I think hard sparring, especially if you're starting out, if you've never been in a fight before, I think you kind of need to know like what it's, if you've never actually been hit like in a fight before, I think that kind of needs to happen before you get in there. We'll talk about that more as we get into the episode. But yeah, I'd say hard sparring. I would say hard sparring is kind of important if you're a beginner or just understanding that actions have consequences. Like if you don't move or if you move in the wrong way, there's gonna be some physical consequences happening with that. How about you, Eddie? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, there's times to cut back on hard sparring.
If you're injured or if it's right before.
Obviously, the obvious reasons, right? But man, I think it just all depends on who you're going with at the same time. But as a beginner, I do believe that you should be tested and you should know off the beginning. And obviously, a lot of coaches will do that to you anyways. If you're talking about that you want to fight, you will be tested.
For sure.
It is something that will happen, especially if you're telling people that you want to fight all around the gym and the coach gives word or you just go to him. A lot of times what coaches try to do is talk you out of it.
Exactly. I'm kind of like what we did episode 1. It's like, hey, you sure? It's kind of hard. You are a carpenter, It's like,
right. So they will try to talk you out of it, and not meaning like, hey, don't do this, but the way that we will talk you out of it is that we will give you somebody that will fight, somebody that will crack you, somebody that will not feel bad for hurting you, in the sense of they're not really trying to hurt you, but teach you a lesson. So, hard sparring is a must. As you get better, you start getting to technical sparring and stuff like that. But that's when you start getting, you start knowing training partners. And there's going to be a few guys in the gym that love to go hard all the time. So you just got to be ready. That's just how it is. You shouldn't take it personal if it is that way. And you should actually take it personal if someone is not going hard enough for you. So
that means they don't respect you.
Exactly. They don't want to help you learn. And you're not learning anything either by just going soft, because as soon as someone cracks you hard in the mouth,
there, what's the point?
Right. Once someone hits you hard in the mouth, let's see if you know how to react. And hopefully you've done it enough in the gym to where you've been cracked and startled a few times to where you can react the right way.
Yeah. And I guess on top of that too, if you're a beginner, you don't even know what hard sparring is. Sparring's just hard in general.
All right. No, that's true. A simple jab to them could feel like, oh, this guy tries to knock me out. You know what I mean? Where all the guys
they're
doing is just
barely
for
they're
a nice
barely
grab.
touching you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you so I guess for that, if you are a beginner, you don't even know. I feel like if you don't like all sparring's hard. So when you realize that there is a hard sparring, maybe that's when you should figure out like when to taper things. But in the beginning, yeah, sparring's hard in general. So of course, cut back once you do have volume, once you're like competing. I'd say probably, I mean, we didn't really say like how often, but
Right.
what do you think? I think really maybe one hard sparring, maybe two at the most, like a week. I feel like anything more than that, and you're kind of just like losing. You're kind of just losing.
If you're really training, depending on what you're doing, I mean, you should be going hard every day. But those are just going to be, and you're going to have to take, within those sparring days, you got to kind of figure out when to spar. You don't want to be back-to-back days. You're sore, So try to keep it. I would say 1 or 2 days. Especially with kicks and stuff involved. You do got to be tested and know how leg kicks feel and everything. So, if I would say two's good.
Yeah, I think probably 2. So, but of course, that is once again if you even know what hard sparring is. All right. So that was that question, and then there was a second question. I guess this also works in like, are there exceptions for people to fight as a bucket list instead of doing this their whole lives? I guess here you can start off with that one, Eddie. If someone just wants to get on their list that they want to play, like,
I mean, hey, why
are we going so hard?
Yeah, hey, you know what? Don't get me wrong, man. Like, hey, you want to be do things on the bucket list and stuff, cool, But at the same time, if you're gonna do it, don't waste nobody's time.
Yeah, don't approach it casually.
Yeah, let everyone know, hey, I'm here. But at the same time, if it's for your bucket list, I mean, what type of bucket list do you have? That you want to go in there and be a loser? So at the same time, it's like, hey, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna train my ass off. I don't know, 1 year, 2 years, or I don't know, 6 months for this fight. But that 6 months, you're out there jogging. You're doing everything possible, and when you go into that fight that, hey, win or lose, this is going on my bucket list because I did everything a fighter does. I could see something like that, but to say, oh, I'm gonna be on the bucket list and you do a fight, hey, we just saw a clip, or I think I just saw it again now, on that McDojo site. A guy's asking, for a GoFundMe, or not McDojo site, but on Instagram, McDojo Life or something like that. He went into a fight as a hobbyist. I think he got rocked or put to sleep. I don't know what happened. He's in a vegetable state now. So it's like, it's really hard to put this as a hobbyist type of sport. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
I could see, hey, I'm thinking that this way. Hey, I do other combat sports. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy, or I've done, I played football, and I could see that. Okay, I'm gonna do this, and I could kind of see, your mentality would kind of move from being competitive to another. So it kind of makes sense, but
you're still in physical sense,
Yes.
Jiu-jitsu is still dangerous. You can get paralyzed in that. You can get paralyzed in football. But if you're, coming from badminton, or who knows, dangerous, I don't know. Now they're all coming like, how dare they? How dare
you might get a high ankle sprain or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? But I mean, that's what it all just depends, man. Like, but don't take it as like, hey, hey, I'm gonna get up today and I'm gonna just put on some boxing gloves and tell people I'm gonna fight, because it's the wrong thing you want to do, because there's guys who actually do this. That goes with any sport. You go anywhere and tell somebody something, they will challenge you. And unfortunately, in this game, you might get kicked in the face or punched or elbowed. You know what I mean? So
the challenge is the damage that's going to happen to you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I would say for that is no matter is what, okay, if it is your bucket list, if you only doing it once, if anything, you have no excuse to go hard then. Right. Why not? You're only doing it once. You might as well do it right. If you're
it's one time, right? That's exactly what I'm trying to say. What type of bucket list you want to have? Like, I got in there and got rocked. You know what I mean? I got dominated. I got this guy kicked my ass when I went in there. You don't want that on your bucket list. Like I said, I'd rather it be like, hey, you know what? I went out there and put on a show. I got mine. He got me. Maybe it didn't come out my way, but I know damn well I put everything I had in there. Or hey man, I went out there and beat the crap out of this guy because we went hard, right? So
yeah, exactly. And if you come in soft, this bucket list, you might kick the bucket. You know, it might be the last thing on your list.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
Because those things happen.
Forget the snowboarding trip.
Yeah.
You know, that's you know,
Yeah.
you know, forget going to Disneyland. That's not happening no more.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could still go as a vegetable, but it probably won't be. You won't remember it. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing. You gotta if you're gonna do this, you gotta come correct no matter how long you're doing it. Whether it's like one time or whether you're trying to make this like a career. No matter, I'd say no matter what no matter what the length of time is, the amount of effort should still be there because of the consequences that can happen like in the sport. So I guess so that's a good segue. So now we're shifting from from doing it. So let's say from some person that's trying to do it once to someone that's trying to do it multiple times.
Right.
Let's say somebody they made the mental commitment, they're in their training, they're building up their skills, and now they're trying to build now they're trying to build experience. Like what would you say that steps would look like for that, Eddie? Yeah.
Okay. You're in the gym. Let's say you've been in the gym, you've been there 6 months. Depending on the type of person you are, you should already be thinking, hey, I want to challenge myself, right? 6 months is in, maybe by 3 months, you might be starting to feel this urge of that you want to test yourself, right? But there's various steps that you could take and that you should take. Do I suggest, you've never fought ever in your life before and you just jump into MMA? Maybe not so quick, right? You should maybe
not so fast, bud.
Yeah, calm down, a little bit. You don't need to go that quick. You don't need to jump ahead of yourself. But there are steps that you should take. Taking smokers, which smokers are just local fights that are not really. They're not really records. They don't go on your records. It's like a sparring match. It's a glorified sparring match, exhibition, whatever you want to call it. Local gyms meet up. They go at it. They put on a show. They get medals. There's shows that are around close by that you can go do some kickboxing. I always suggest get into some jiu-jitsu and kickboxing matches. If you don't want to do MMA, okay, let's start off with kickboxing, smokers. Don't jump into a big ass USMTO Muay Thai tournament. You've never even fought one time, or let alone be in some gym wars. So that's something that will be that you should be going and doing is just start looking for simple fights. Look for simple fights. Get into some gym wars. Usually your coaches will know, maybe another coach that you can meet, get together and spar some guys, or the guys that are coming up that also want to fight. Let's start getting in. Get at it.
Like a dedicated practice. Yeah,
exactly. Let's start getting real serious. When you do spar, let's actually make it for a reason.
Get that hard sparring.
Exactly. There it is. That let's make it a reason why you're there. You're if you're learning to jab, practice jab moving your head, and make it hard. When it goes to getting fights, that might be difficult, depending on the coach you have. But majority of the time, if you're at a gym, you should be getting fights. That's one thing that you should know, that if you're at a gym and you've been training, you're not getting fights, hey, maybe you're at the wrong gym. Or maybe you're not training hard enough. So like I said, steps to this, there is steps, and you do need to prove yourself within that 6 months in the gym. You don't get to just say, hey, I've been here 6 months, now it's time to fight. Eddie said 3 months I get an urge. That's not really how it works, right? There is steps, but the main thing is, if you are dedicated and you're in there, let's go ahead and start with some smokers. Let's get in some gym wars. Let's get into some battles. Get in some great training partners, and get yourself a great little camp around you to get ready for these fights. And one thing too, I want everyone to understand is that when you do start fighting, don't think that, oh, here I'm getting a fight and hey, now I'm off for 3-4 months. That's not how it works. You're supposed to be fighting, and the next week you're supposed to fight again. And if you can, the next week again, every week at least, maybe 2 times a month if possible. Try to fight as much as possible to gain experience. What do you think, Pocholo?
Yeah, I'll definitely agree. I'd say and especially with the exhibitions, the smokers, whatever kind of outside competition, I feel that that's so important because as hard as your sparring is, like we said last episode, as hard as your sparring is, it's not going to be the same as when you're there at a place that's not your gym. You're at an outside location. It doesn't even necessarily need to be that far, but it's somebody that you don't know, you haven't been training with, and you have to go against them. That's like a just the added nerves is just gonna make that situation like a lot more different. And that's the thing. And that's why, we as coaches, we want to see guys that put themselves into those kind of pressure, pretty much put pressure on themselves in those pressure filled situations, because we've seen because we know that there's not always a straight translation of skill. Wise, we know guys like, oh man, they look good here in the gym, like here sparring wise, but then you put them in just a different like gym location, like, oh wow, this like what happened to that? Like there's a little crowd now. Doesn't even need to be that big, like 15, 20 people, 30 people. And all of a sudden things change. All of a sudden nerves happen, and they don't look like the guy that you saw at the gym like the other day. Right. Exactly. Because we've all seen that. So the importance of the experience is just to see, okay, how are you gonna react in a pressure filled situation, when there's a crowd, when there's someone you don't know, when there's pretty much when it's real. Because even as amateur MMA, like amateur MMA is still more intense than what most people are going to go with. So even don't scoff at like a gym war or like a glorified sparring. That's still more pressure than what you're going to do at the gym every day. So I think putting that extra level is just gonna showcase, like, okay, can you do this when it gets bigger? Like, if you really want to do this, like if you're gonna fight in an arena, if you're gonna fight in if you're gonna fight in a stadium, like that's gonna be way more. You got to start somewhere, right? It's like it's a soccer player, they don't start in the stadium right away. It's gonna be like some back, like some field where it's just their parents, and then they work their way up and then they work their way up to like a bigger stage. And it's the same thing with fighting. You gotta work your way up there, and just to see if you can even do it. The biggest thing to see, if the translation's there, if you can handle that pressure, you can handle that outside. That's the biggest thing, is like the outside that people don't pay attention to. Right. And like you said, like we said before, we've seen guys that can look good when there's no pressure, when there's no camera, when there's nobody watching, and then once there's just a few more eyes, they're like, oh man, like, hey, that's a different person. That was that.
Yep. That's how it is. That's how it is majority of the time.
Yeah, exactly. And if anything, it's kind of it is norm. It's like the people at the top level there, I'd say I would argue probably everybody at the top level probably still does better than at the gym. It's only really a rare few that can actually do their skills like everywhere. Right. There's always some kind of takeaway, or some kind of something you kind of don't take with you, like to the fight. So I think that's why it's important to get that experience, and just to test yourself and to see if you're capable of dealing with those nerves, of dealing with that preparation. Yeah.
Agreed.
And I think the consistency, as you said too, the consistency in the training, but also consistency in competition, especially when you're at that young point of your career. Because I think people get used to, or not maybe used to, I think the well-known fighters, like boxers or like the champion MMA fighters, they fight like twice a year, if that, maybe once a year. But that's the thing, you're not that guy. You're not you're not on that level. And for them to get to that point, they were, I would argue, like all the guys that are that got there, they had a lot of amateur experience, because it's no shocker that the people with the most amount of skill, or the most well-developed amateurs, ended up becoming
right.
Well, typically, they're going to become the most well-developed, like best pros. It's not like they gotta build themselves up. And I would say with your amateur career, that's like your baby period, right? You got to as you know, you got 5 kids. When they're young, that's when they eat a lot, and they gotta eat. And that's when they're growing the most. And then versus to when they're when they're older, when they're more adult, that we're not, they're not really growing as much. But that's the time when you gotta give them that, experience, you gotta give them that kind of training, that kind of. I feel the competition is the biggest thing, because just see like, all right, how are you doing in this, just to make sure that it's like once you go to higher amateur, maybe even pros, that you're prepared for it, that it's not your first time in terms of that. So yeah, I agree with that. And I think the consistent, because like I guess even every week. Okay, if not, like I'd say at the least you should at least be competing like every month, like if you're an amateur, like at least like find some kind of competition.
Once a month would be great. That's 12 times a year if you could do that.
Exactly. Ideally, and of course you'll get people. Okay, whatever. I'd say it's like if you can get if you can get, that's probably 8. I'd say ideally if you can get like 8 competitions like in a year, if you're like just starting out, I'd say probably at least your first. And this is all very dependent. This is just like rough estimate. At least like your first, that's probably like your first 2 years, first like 2-3 years, if you're still developing, you're a baby like in the sport. You gotta get those competitions in. That's important because you're still clay. You're still you're still soft, malleable clay. So you gotta build like the good habits like then, because then that's what's gonna be. Then that's what's gonna be when you're when you're fighting on larger stages. Like
that's the key thing too. When you're starting off and you're new, you need to make sure that, like Pocholo said, you're like a clay. You really have no mold yet.
Mm-hmm.
You really kind of need to start finding yourself, and to find yourself is going to be in between those fights. Mm-hmm. Because when you fight, you're going to change your style so many different ways. Like, I didn't like the way that I was maybe getting jabbed up, or I was getting kicked, when I went to throw my jab. So all different things are going to change within that time. Mm-hmm. It's just about what type of clay are you going to be?
Yeah.
Are you going to be that hard clay that just doesn't like to be molded into something, or are you going to have an open mind to where you say, hey, you know what, it's time to change. What I was doing is not working. Because a lot of things that's what makes a lot of guys great, I think, is adjusting.
Being flexible, being able to adjust on the fly. Exactly. And that just comes with experience. Like it's not the first time that they have to they've done it.
Right.
And I think that's a great point. And I think that also just as we mentioned, that comes with experience. Right. It's like all the highly skilled guys, it's no surprise, those are probably guys that spend the most time in their amateur career, maybe even developing themselves in a professional career. But sometimes though, I'd say though, if you're a professional and you're still developing, maybe it's kind of too late at that point. Maybe you because it's not 1995 anymore. Like everybody kind of knows, like in MMA, there is a set way, or there's there is amateur like ways that you can go to develop. It's not like I wouldn't say it's like impossible to change, but it's very difficult to change. Like once you get to that kind of, because you're no longer that malleable, and everything counts in terms of that. Like the level, why would you? That would be like if you were like, let's say professional example, like if you were like a professional baseball player, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna just change what hand I throw with. And like that's not the time, like to do it. All right, I'm gonna hit from a different side. Like you should have done that when you were little league, when you were a kid. When you were right? I'm just gonna change. Like, I used to throw this way, but what if I just change the way I do? Now that I'm getting paid millions of dollars, and people like wins and losses like matter. Like that's not the time to change. The time to change is when you're a Pop Warner, when you're in an amateur career, when there's low stakes.
One guy I could think of that you're talking about like that that's coming to my mind is, I don't know if you know from the NBA, Ben Simmons.
Oh, yeah.
They kind of changed that guy's shot so many times. I used to see him. I was like, dude, it's you're done already.
It's done.
Like a professional, they're working on his free throw. Like that should have been done.
Exactly. And they say that he's young, but still, so in the NBA, by the time, because you gotta think about he's probably been basketball. Okay, if he got into NBA, he got fairly young, 19, 20. Right. But he's still been playing basketball at least 10 years. Right. Probably, if not, 15, most likely. right? And the fact that he didn't get like the development like until then, or at least like okay,
Giannis only started when he was like 20 years old, and he's better than him. You know, it's like,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, right. It's like he's too set in his ways, like by then. And I think especially too, like once you're kind of fully grown like that, it's I wouldn't say impossible, but it's very difficult because you're so set in your ways. It's like it's become part of your muscle memory at that point. Like you're no longer a kid. You're no longer got the room to do so. I think talking about like the NBA, like, I think another like one guy that comes to mind. Let's see. I just lost his name. He's the center for the Lakers like right now.
Oh, Anthony Davis.
Yeah, Anthony Davis. Yeah. So because he had a huge growth spurt. I think between he was like a freshman or sophomore. I think he used to be like 6 feet tall or like 6'2", and then grew to like 6'10" within like a year. But he had all the skills. But he had all the skills like of a smaller person, and then he just transferred that once he was big. Like if he had been like big the whole time, that probably would have been difficult. As you know, like once you're like the larger you are, the more stuff there is to control.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You know, I could just imagine. You know what I mean? Like, and that's where like that. You know, that's what I would say the point they were trying to get is because you know, we're not trying to also say that if you do get to a higher level that you cannot change, but it's very difficult. Yeah. You know, like you said, it's very difficult. And I think you would have to be already a pretty decent fighter or a great fighter to happen to change.
Yeah.
You know, that it just
change, like to add elements like that. Because I'm even thinking about, you know, the all-time greats. And in terms of that, if you look at their early like pro fights, they still look pretty much like if you saw Anderson Silva fight 1 and then you look at him like fight 20. I mean, there's some things, of course, you know, he got better. Of course, he got better, but like the mold of where he was, it didn't also like, oh man, Silva was like throwing up triangles or you know, doing.
Yeah, it's just he happened to just get better. Yeah, at what he does, you know, more defined, more clean, you know, and like Pierre, another guy, you know, where you know, I mean, he added that wrestling, added into his game, but he was already an athlete. He was a guy that was just. You know, you're not gonna just find this guy that's like, oh wow, this guy was just. I can't really think of one in my head, honestly. That like this guy just was like not good, and then wow, he became a champion.
Yeah, they already had elements to their game, and maybe they developed it a little bit further. But it's
look
like
at a guy like Steve Northcutt.
Yeah,
you know, he just never developed. Like a guy, don't want to, you know, he's still young, but you know, Raul Rosas, you know, who knows how. You know, sometimes
who knows what his development is in terms of that, right?
You know, sometimes you come in too early.
Yeah,
you know, and I would always prefer like, you know, get yourself experience, man. That's the main thing. You know,
and I think that's kind of what we're talking about here. I think that's the thing. Like, you don't want to go in. It's like, oh man, they took out the bread. The bread's not even done yet. It's not risen yet.
Exactly.
You don't. You don't
like,
want
to. You're excited. You're happy. Let me get the bread with some butter.
Yeah.
And damn, it's not done. You know, you know, I'm wasting my time.
Yeah.
I'm not
because then it's so hard. You can't just like throw it back in and then it gets burned.
Now it's almost like you're gotta restart. You know, it's like, and that's something that it's hard to do. You don't want to do that as a beginner. You want to stop the restart process. You want to just keep going, going. You know, the more that you keep on stopping, and you know, it's always a restart. You might think, oh, I'm going to take a month or two. See what that month or two does to your cardio.
Yeah.
You know, if you're out there drinking or smoking or doing whatever, you know if you're not working out is what I'm talking about, then you know how you feel. I mean, come on. You know, it's impossible. You know, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's obviously guys who could drink and smoke and their cardio is still going, but guess what? They're probably working every day.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just, you know, make sure that think about take away the stopping process. I think that's where a lot of people get confused is like, oh, I could take a month off. And I think I kind of touched on that earlier is, oh, I won this fight or I lost this fight. I'm banged up a little bit. I'm going to take a whole month. Why?
Yeah.
You know, It's like
it's like precious time for development, like right there.
exactly. And a lot of people think that, oh, I gotta be in the gym, then I gotta be fighting right away. Hey man, if you got banged up or whatever, you gotta be in there. You gotta retouch up and don't be, I'm gonna be gone for a month, but hey, I'm not gonna fight for a month, but I'm gonna touch up everything. And maybe the next month I might not fight, but I'm looking for a fight, and I should be fighting within that third month.
And like preparing yourself, like to do something. It's like staying sharp. You know, you don't want to get dull in terms of that.
Exactly. You should almost be, even though you're not fighting, you should be preparing. There's gonna be, honestly, there should be never a time you take off unless you got TKO, KO, then it makes sense.
Or like you're injured, like broken arm.
Oh,
you gotta let it heal.
Leg, right.
But your mind can always be developed. I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, when does the preparation for the next fight starts? As soon as the last fight ended.
Because a lot of times, man, I see the guys on Saturday watching them. Alex Perez fought this Saturday, this past weekend.
Yeah, he fought last Saturday. Yeah, he fought
and then he was on the PI on Monday.
Yeah.
So it's like, if he just fought Saturday and he's in this just goes to show you what pro level is.
Yeah.
You got to be in the gym, man. You got to be in the gym regardless. And I think he was just on the bike, but hey, he was in the gym, right? He wasn't in the gym sparring.
Yeah, hard sparring going.
Yeah. But hey, he was in the gym on a bike.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people miss, is that they think, oh, I got to go to the gym and they're going to make me spar something. Like, no, man, get in the gym. Hit the bag, move around, keep your mindset of you being in the gym.
Yeah.
Like,
do you need to go hard? Not necessarily, but you gotta stay sharp. Yeah. And if anything, maybe doing some cardio. I think just keeping a cardio, I feel like is important thing. Staying in shape, not taking a month off, get fat, and then you get in shape for the next because then you waste that time getting back in shape.
Exactly. That whole next month is just you getting in shape. Trying to get back your cardio when we're just doing sprints.
Yeah.
When we're just doing a little 10-yard dash.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, those are the things that's what a lot of people don't understand. You do 10 of those 10-yard dashes, you'll be dead. Yeah. Compared to if you've been doing it every day or not every day, but once a week, you'll be, you open up those lungs. It's just, being a young fighter, the key things to focus on is, like you said, staying active. Whether you're injured or not, having the mindset of fighting, and just thinking about when is your next fight. Everything that when you're in this fighting game, you should be thinking about fighting.
Yeah.
And if you're not constantly thinking about fighting, or let me say this, man, if you want to be a fighter, you should be watching the fights. Every fight that you can possibly watch. How can you be a fighter and you tell me, when I ask you, I don't even really watch it. I don't even know how we could be the same. I don't know. It's like, what do you watch then? Like, what are you watching? Go-kart racing or something?
Yeah, right. Watching like Korean soap operas? Is that
it's like, what do you do? Like, I thought you're a fighter. Like, I would think everything, I wouldn't say revolves around fighting, but it kind of does,
Yeah. I think especially with the level that you're trying to be, if you look at just any high level sport, or not even necessarily high level, that anyone that's in high level, they study the people that are in their field, right? They do film study. Like, if you're in the NBA, of course you gotta look at film study. If you're in NFL, do film study. All the guys that are professionals in this, they gotta study up. They gotta, because it's their competition. It's like that's their livelihood. If they're not doing research on it, if they're not looking to improve each and every time, then if you're not moving forward, you're getting left behind. That's just how it goes.
Exactly. So if anyone wants to keep one thing in mind, is if you're not moving forward, you'll be left behind. Jump on the train now before it goes.
Yeah, exactly. You can't ask the train to stop. All right, getting off here. That train won't be there.
But you better get in the back seat of the car. We got 8 of them back there, but you better get in because we're about to leave.
Yeah.
So that's the main thing, is just keep going forward with the process. Yeah. Try not to make those pauses. I can't stress that the most. Don't get me wrong, 2 week pause, they'll break, clear up the mind, get rid. Those are normal. Every fighter goes through that, but at the same time, get back to it, man. Um, these long month or two breaks, 3 months of us not seeing you guys in the gym, and guys that you're thinking are um, wanting to be, and you're not there. That's where things get confused, because now everyone's thinking, what's going on, what happened to this guy that said he was going to do this and that. So the main thing is, let your actions speak louder than your words too.
For sure.
And if you say you want to be a fighter, man, do it.
Yeah.
Or like, say you want to be a hobbyist, but at the same time, if you're going to be the hobbyist and you're with me, just know you got to get ready for it. Nobody, I'm not going to train no hobbyist to lose. That's just me. And that's, like I said, whether it doesn't matter if you're a hobbyist, hey man, let's train to be the best. At least you get to say, hey, I did that on my bucket list. I beat the crap out of that guy.
Yeah.
That guy
might as well train to win.
Yeah. He's lucky I wasn't a fighter. Do you know what I'm trying to say? That's the way you should be thinking. It's like, but hey, I think staying consistent is the main thing. Going forward is the main thing. Getting fights. I don't care what type of fights it is. Hey, and don't say, oh, you're not. He said, and I can't fight MMA. Hey, you want to fight MMA your first time? Go check it out. Just know that there's dangers to it. You're fighting 4-ounce gloves. Here in Las Vegas or in Nevada, you don't fight with shin pads on your first couple fights. It's the real deal, and you're not getting paid.
Yeah.
So
you get all the danger without any of that.
Nothing. You don't even get a.
Then on that notion too, if you don't have any background skills, and you fight somebody, who's to say like this person is not a college wrestler, or like has a professional, was like an amateur boxer, 100 fights in,
7 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of things like that you gotta watch out for this, because it's not a game. It's not a game. And I'm not also saying, try kickboxing because it's easier. That's not what it is. But what I am trying to say is that's a little bit more entry level.
Yeah.
They got a lot more entry level fighters there.
Yeah.
MMA is
not the variables too, I think too. It's
yes.
like more accessible, like that
exactly,
way.
Exactly.
You don't have to worry about punching and kicking. And
right.
Or if it's like, if you go to like a grappling thing, it's just the one thing. I mean, it's so dangerous. Don't take it lightly. Don't get tossed on your head.
You never take nothing lightly.
Yeah.
But let's just say, I would, from my experience, I've seen that when you go into MMA, I've never don't get me wrong, I have. But you hardly see anybody that doesn't know what the hell that's going on. They're all pretty decent. And if they're not, there's some tough, bad motherfuckers, they're ready to go. And most likely, guys, you're gonna fight someone that's good at one thing in MMA.
Yeah, at least one thing.
Yeah, they're not gonna be the best at fighters. You might see this guy, he can't even fucking throw punches or kicks. Oh, but wait till he goes to the ground. And let's see if he could do anything. Or you might see a guy who, like, man, this guy can't stand up for crap, but when he's standing up, oh man, he has the kicks and punches. So there's always gonna be somebody there that's good at one thing. And it's almost like a test of that's what the test is who can be better at multiple, because it's MMA. And a lot of those guys come from kickboxing backgrounds. A lot of those guys come from jiu-jitsu backgrounds. A lot of those guys come from Muay Thai, karate, taekwondo. They all come from a background. They're all background fighters, I would say.
Especially if they got to that level where they're looking to compete.
Right.
Typically, yeah. I mean, like what we talked about, like our backgrounds, like when we went to MMA, we already had like years of combat experience and other things.
And some people try to say like, oh, well, John Jones started late. Yeah, but he had combat experience. And that's what people, we're not saying.
Exactly. He was being his girlfriends back then.
Yeah.
No,
that's when him and Kobe Covington were friends. No,
John Jones was like so the thing with John Jones is he was a nationally ranked wrestler. The only reason he wasn't in a D1 college was because he didn't have good grades, so he had to be in a junior college, like that. Like, so probably he was easily, for probably his graduating class, probably top 10 in terms of that. Like, so he wasn't just some random scrub off the street. That just
exactly. You know that. Oh yeah, he just started when he was 18. Like that's not what we're saying. You know,
he was wrestling since he was 8.
But he had a background. Yeah, he had a background. It's like telling, oh yeah, this guy he's 30 years old, but he just started MMA, but he's won 4 gold medals. You know, but he just started MMA.
Yeah, exactly. It's Kurt Angle.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So it's like, come on, you gotta understand that as long as you come in with combat experience, you'll be good. But remember, if you are that guy that's just starting off,
I would need more of a base. I would need more background.
Yeah, it's okay because sometimes you guys go against somebody. Hey, this guy's been a Golden Gloves. You might rock his ass, and you know that's what it's all about. Though it's all about like testing your skills. And if you're one of those guys, well, I've only done it 6 months. Why am I sparring this Golden Gloves? Hey, maybe sit down, but this might not be for you. You should when you
still get punched. You know, punches still come all the same. Doesn't matter. You can get chin checked even if you have Golden Gloves or not.
Exactly. You know, I'll be one to say I go with anybody, and as of now, like I'm in a heavyweight. I've been guys against bigger than me.
Yeah.
You know, way taller than me. I've been in the gym where they bring guys and they're looking for a heavyweight, and there's only one. And I'll go. You know, I'll go. You know what I mean? And like I said, I've been against national champions, been against pros. The main thing is just it doesn't matter who it is. You know, if you're a fighter, you go in there and you fight. You know, that's just how it is. You know what I mean? If you're in there scared, like I said, I'm not saying nobody's scared because everybody's scared. Shit, I'm gonna say it at first. I'm nervous. I wouldn't say scared, but I'm nervous. There is some type of that. I guess that's a scare type of thing. You know,
there's like some anxiousness, like for sure.
Right, exactly. You know,
that's how you know it's competition.
Exactly. But the main thing is you shouldn't be scared of the competition. Hey, yeah, you're nervous because of obviously. I would say it like this: if it was a basketball game, I don't think I'd be that nervous. If I'm going 1-on-1, why would I be nervous? But what can I possibly happen to me? Twist my ankle? Or maybe if I flip, it might flip over stuff, but I'm more nervous. There's nothing more that will get your body or the feelings of anxious more than a fight. As simple as that. And nobody
you could be going against Draymond Green, you know, then that would be a fight.
yeah, exactly. If you're going to get your balls kicked, you know, you're done right there. You know, if you want no kids, you know, play 1-on-1 with Draymond in the backyard.
Yeah, right.
Because there's no
Draymond Green, Dr. Draymond, vasectomy. Right. Just
but you know, that's what it comes down to, man. Go out there, don't be scared, compete. Don't be afraid of the competition, no matter who it is. Have that mindset of, hey, I'm here to be the best. Yeah. And if you have that mindset, I feel that you'll be good. You know, you won't get hurt if you have that mindset. And even if you do get hurt, you don't get hurt. I don't know how that makes sense. You know, you can.
I think it's a matter of being able to persevere, like through it. Because damage is going to happen. Like that's just how it is. Damage is going to happen no matter what you do. Like we talk about badminton, there's probably guys that have like crappy wrists or crappy shoulders. Right, damage is going to happen to everything that you do.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
It's just being able to go through it. That's why.
That's something that we know for sure is not. You're not as badminton versus MMA, you know what I mean? A little bit different, you know, but you know, everywhere you get injured. It's just that you could be someone that works on the keyboard all day.
Yeah.
You know, typing, boom, 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 you get arthritis.
Yeah.
You know, so
there's the carpal tunnel like right there.
Yeah, there you go, carpal tunnel. That's what it is.
It's like like damage is gonna happen to you no matter what. But you want to keep going like through it. That's what's important. Keep that mentality. Exactly. And in terms of the nerves too, that's why competing in smokers, competing in like tournaments, competing in things like staying just that gets you used, especially if you didn't like, let's say you weren't in any sports like before, then that gets you used to that kind of competition. Because like as you've seen, like, you know, you coach like multiple sports, you can tell the kids that have been in sports before and the kids that have not. They just react differently.
Yeah, even if you're not playing, if they're not the best at that sport you're teaching, hey, you could tell that they're athletic. They've done something else.
Yeah.
You just know it. Like you said,
And they know how to deal with the adversity is important thing
exactly,
too. If anything,
exactly,
that might be more important. I think that's the
right,
thing you're talking about. Like, yeah, if you get how you're gonna act when you do get punched, when you do get
right.
kicked, are you able to still move forward, or are you just gonna okay, now I'm gonna back down. This is it for me. Like that. So yeah, I'd say that's probably like an important thing there. So which is once again going back to like why it's important to develop to develop. I mean, of course, developing a skill set. We talked about that. That's why background is important. But okay, let's say you're coming in fresh, you have no background. This is the time to develop things like
Yeah,
do kickboxing, do boxing,
exactly.
do
Do
Muay Thai,
everything.
yeah, do grappling. Now
Take
you got to
take
figure out
advantage.
what are
Right.
you good at? Like what do you
Yeah.
like to do? Like are you gonna
I suggest that
you do
there's a gym around and they're offering everything. Whether if you're in Las Vegas, man, come on down to Fight Capital. But if you're not in Las Vegas, and what you're doing is looking for a gym or the main thing, or even if you are in Vegas, man, you want to look for somewhere that has multiple things, because when you go, unless you're looking for a specific background, if you just go to a jiu-jitsu school, you're learning just jiu-jitsu. If you go to a Muay Thai school, you're learning but if you step into an MMA gym, you want to be able to get the full aspect of everything.
yeah.
You want to know what is MMA, you want to know what is Muay Thai, so go try it all. And like Pocholo says, see what is your fit, see what is it that you like to do. And but at the same time, like if you have no background, why not just do it all?
Yeah.
It's the best. You'll be the best at mixing everything together compared to someone that likes to do just hands. They might not be the best at transitioning to takedown,
Yeah.
so they like to keep it standing, So
Yeah, exactly. It could be like Ben Simmons with his jump shot. He could
right,
just be so used to that. Like, oh, I'm so used to throw. They don't know how to kick or they don't know how to take somebody down like afterwards, like that.
exactly.
So yeah,
So
there's an advantage and disadvantages to that, but I'd say it's pretty good. So like second episode. Let's say you made that commitment, you're in there, but now you got to test yourself. You got to live test it against
right,
against other people, and within yourself, you still got to think about okay, what kind of skill set are you developing, like at that point, and are you testing yourself like on a regular basis, staying consistent in there. Yeah.
right.
So that's it. Yeah. I'd say that's pretty good, like in terms
Yeah,
of in terms of episode there. So yeah, if you're a young fighter, gotta get experience, man. There's no substitute for that. There's
there's
no, I mean,
no
great
substitute
as
for
hard sparring is, there's no substitute for that. There's no, you got to get in there with someone with a live opponent, with
right.
somebody where there are stakes, and that's where the anxiety, where the nerves kick in, and you have to deal with that because that's the whole point of being. That's one of the big things of being an athlete or being a
Right.
fighter. So if you're going to be a professional, you got to treat yourself as a professional before you even get in there. So
Agree.
that's how that goes. Okay. So any I guess any closing words or how about this? Just share your social media so people know if they want to
Yeah.
follow Eddie Too Smooth. How do they find them?
Yeah, guys, if you guys want to follow me, check me out on Instagram at Eddie Too Smooth, EDDIETOOSMOOTH. You know where to find me.
And don't you have like a mid madness thing for March or?
Yeah. Also, too, guys, if you're out here in Las Vegas, I have a little special going on for March. It's called March Madness. You get a 30-minute session. It's only $45. So anybody that wants to come out, get a little bit of mitt work, you come on down here and to Fight Capital, and I got you with some mitt work.
Cool. All right. That's been episode 2, Fighters University. Yeah, you probably watched on YouTube or you listening, SoundCloud, Spotify, all that. Saw some clips, but yeah, follow us. We'll keep making more episodes. If you got questions, send it to us. You can either, I guess, you can DM us or comment on this or figure out some way. If you got burning questions, I mean, we got answers for you. We'll keep schooling you in that stuff. All right. All right. It's been Fighters University. Peace.
Do it.